Hi everyone, I have Australian top order batter Usman Khawaja next to me. Assalamu alaikum.
Awesome.
How are you?
Very well, thanks. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, thank you so much. I want to talk about Australian cricket. So perhaps no other nation comes close to the way Australian cricket has dominated the world of cricket, be it any format of the game for many, many years. What do you think in your version is the reason for this?
Steep history of cricket, like a long history of cricket. I mean, backyard cricket is huge in Australia, so wherever you are, Pakistan it's tape ball. Australia's backyard cricket. So if you've got a backyard, which most people do if they're living at home, you play cricket. You play cricket in the front of the house too, but it's called backyard cricket. It's just the name. And cricket's our national sport. We love cricket. We have the history of Sir Donald Bradman being the greatest batsman of all time, averaging 99. It's unbelievable. We've got all these amazing cricket teams. It's funny because we've been so good at it for such a long time. Even though some of the team performances have ebbed and flowed, we've always been one of the top teams. And when you see that it's a young, male or female, you kind of want to be like them. It inspires you to be, an Australian cricketer, the best in the world. So I think that cycle kind of just goes round and round and round. So that's why we have such a, our population is only 25 million.
Yeah.
And we still produce amazing cricket teams, but that's why, because it's so inbuilt in our culture and the way we do things.
Now, you became the first Muslim and first player of Pakistan origin to be playing for Australia. How proud are you of that? And at the same time, what's some work that still needs to be done so that we're not highlighting this as a first and it's something that becomes part of the Australian culture?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really proud of it now. I was a little embarrassed about it when it first happened. I didn't like, sort of being, I kind of felt like
an outlier.
Yeah, and the fact that they would say I'm the first, maybe person of color or first Muslim kind of made me, because I was trying to integrate so hard into the Australian cricket team. I was trying to be like everyone else for good reason too, because I didn't want to, every time I felt like I stood out, it was a reason for me to not be in the team and for an excuse for the selectors or the coaches to not pick me or to point fingers. There was a lot of stereotypes about subcontinent cricketers when I was growing up. They're lazy, they didn't try hard, they were quite racist stereotypes, but they're the stereotypes. So for me, I was trying as hard to get away from those stereotypes. It's like, no, I'm Australian, I'm just like you. I still support Australia. I've grown up here my whole life. Just because the colour of my skin's brown and I'm Muslim and born in Pakistan doesn't mean that I'm any different to you. So at the start, I didn't really like it. I was trying to push away from that because I knew how much it held me back in the past. And I knew people growing up would always tell me I'd never play for Australia. Like all people of subcontinent desi backgrounds, and you're not playing for Australia.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why. And then I was young. I was like, I'll show you. But
yeah,
I didn't really understand the political nature of it all. And as I got older, and now the older I get, the more mature I'm getting, the more grateful I am that I actually got to go through the journey and represent Australia, because it's been so hard for people of multicultural backgrounds to actually make the cricket team. And so for me now, it's one of the most proudest things I have. And for me, it's what I try to instill as my legacy in a lot of ways. It's like, I love scoring runs on the field and winning games on the field, but I want more female and male athletes of multicultural backgrounds to be able to achieve what I've achieved without going through the barriers that I had to go through. That's a really important one for me. So that's what I try to do now a lot. And I think, for cricket, the thing that's held it back, particularly in Australia, it's a game that you have to be selected. You have to be selected by selectors. You have to be selected.
People,
Yeah, by coaches. Your livelihood and you making teams it's not just what you do. It's also, people have to select you to do that. So some stuff is out of your control. And I think that stuff that's out of your control to some level has held back multicultural cricket for a long time. I speak to Cricket Australia and Australian public in general about what I call subconscious bias, because I think there are so many, it's a big revolving door in cricket. All our past cricketers were white, and the past cricketers are the ones that go back into coaching. A lot of them go back into administration, and so then they go back in those roles, and then they hire people that they played cricket with and that they worked with, and all those people are white. So there's no actual avenue for coloured people to actually get into Cricket Australia administration roles, particularly high performance coaching roles. Is so hard because majority of coaches and people involved in high performance are all white, because that's what our cricketing background has been for such a long time.
Yeah.
So it's actually hard to crack that. So that's, that's one of the things structurally we're trying to change, institutionally, all the way from the top to the board of Cricket Australia, all the way down to staff, giving opportunities and avenues of people of all race, culture, religions to actually get into cricket at those particularly high performance roles, which they've never been able to do before.
Now, Ashes, it's always something special, and you've done well last year, amazingly well. What are you doing to prepare for it this time around, now that we know Jimmy Anderson won't be playing for England?
The Ashes, we're playing against India this summer, and the Ashes next summer, and then it's like, I'm glad I don't have to face Jimmy anymore. He's a very good bowler, very skillful. Didn't give you many opportunities to score runs. So is Broad.
Or anyone, really.
Yeah, Broady was pretty good too, to be honest. So the thing is, English cricket will always produce good players, just like Australian cricket will always produce good players. So I'm sure the next crop is hungry and waiting to come, and you never underestimate the new players because, one time Jimmy Anderson was a nobody too, and then he became Jimmy Anderson. So everyone's got to start from somewhere.
Now, you might not like this, but I want to ask you a little bit about Pakistan cricket. So you played for PSL, contracted with the players. What do you think is contributing to the challenges that Pakistani cricket faces nowadays?
In my opinion, and this is my opinion from the outside, I'm not really involved in Pakistani cricket, but this is what it feels like from the outside. This is what it feels like to a lot of people watching in Australia from the outside. It's just, there's a lot of instability in Pakistani cricket. There's a lot of changes all the way.
Constant changes.
Constant changes from the board to selectors, players. Pakistani guys are under a lot of pressure, both from themselves, their families, but the population too. I mean, the amount of backlash Pakistani cricketers get when they lose is unbelievable. Honestly, I don't think I could be on social media if I was a Pakistani cricketer, or at least I'd have to block all the comments, because I think sometimes it's quite unfair, because cricket's a hard game. You're not going to win all the time. Australia doesn't win all the time. But at some level, we don't cop as much criticism from our public as I see the Pakistani players too. So I have a lot of respect for them. I feel bad for them at times. They're going out there, they're trying their best. They're humans like everyone else. They have families, they have children, they have mums and dads. They're no different than us. They're no different than the people watching the game. Obviously, Pakistanis are very passionate about the game, but I think as a whole in Pakistan cricket, when you put all those things together, the pressures, the instability, it makes it very hard to perform, I believe. Cricket's a game where it ebbs and flows all the time. So you're trying to change things all the time. It's very hard for you to find this formula for success. You actually got to say, okay, this is what I think the best team is. I'm just going to hold on to the core of this team for as long as I can. And then if after a year or two it's not working, they're like, okay, maybe we'll try a couple of other players, not reinvent the wheel. Exactly. So I've never really seen that in Pakistani cricket ever since I was young. There's been a few great players along the way, batsmen and bowlers that have stuck around, but the other players always seem like it's coming in and out. So it's hard. I'm not really involved in the Pakistani system, but that's what I see from the outside.
Yeah. Now, you've amassed thousands of runs, especially your last few years. You've been amazing with your bat, but you also have taken brilliant catches. So does fielding come naturally to you? You enjoy it, or do you have to work really hard towards it?
No, fielding comes naturally to no one, I reckon. It's an attitude thing.
Probably like Jaunty Road.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, I go back. Fielding comes naturally. Moving comes naturally to some. So there's some people who are just amazing movers, right? Yeah. So you got like Jaunty Rhodes, Glenn Maxwell, Ravindra Jadeja. Yeah. They're like, these guys are amazing movers. They're natural athletes. You can just see how they move. But catching is a learned skill. And catching is all about volume, just doing it. It's the same as anything. You always got to drop catches. And we always say in the Australian cricket team, no one cares if you drop catches, because you're going to drop catches. But are you doing the work outside? As long as you're doing all the work at training, you're taking all the catches, you're taking extra stuff at training, you're doing all the hard work, then if you drop in the game, it's fine. Mm-hmm. But if you're not doing that, and then you drop it in the game, well, then you've only got yourself to blame. Yeah. So you've got to kind of tick the box and do the work behind the scenes. And then it's like, okay, if you're going to make a mistake there, you can handle that. I think that's how we sort of see it in Australian cricket. You do all the hard work, you train, and then whatever happens on the field happens. But it's one of those things. We've been very blessed in Australia. We have beautiful fields. I used to, grow up and watch the subcontinent, and back then before the IPL, in India and Pakistan, I used to look at the fields and I was like, even the Aussie guys didn't want to dive in those fields. They were horrible. Like, it was so hard. And we have like these lush, beautiful. Now it's changed. Now There's the irrigation and techniques now that the grass looks beautiful in most parts of the world. But we've grown up with fields, grass, parks everywhere, so we're quite comfortable in putting ourselves down. But I think franchise cricket is slowly changing that. It's bringing, more athletic players to the game. People realize how important the fielding aspect is to cricket. But yeah, it's one of those things where, just like batting or bowling, you've got to work at it. And if you don't work at it, you'll never get better at it.
Now, Border-Gavaskar series. Do you think that's going to eventually compete with Ashes?
I think in viewership, it could maybe beat the Ashes in a lot of respects.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, traditionally, it's so inbuilt in Australia. Just like Canada, we're a Commonwealth country, right?
Yeah.
So, we use the term "pommy," like prisoner of Mother England. Yeah. It's like that's what we call the English. So, I think for us, it's such a massive history with England over so many years. I mean, the Bodyline series, if anyone doesn't know the Bodyline series, look up the history of the Bodyline. There's a lot of bad blood there. And then everything that goes with the Ashes in England, what happened last Ashes series, 2005 Ashes series, there's a lot of emotion that goes into Ashes. It's really hard to replicate that emotion. I mean, you can just see what happened in terms of the Lord's Test match in the Ashes. There's a lot of emotions both ways, so it's very hard to replicate that. But with India, the traditions kind of probably really started to be built over the last 10, 15 years, so it's still very new. But when you come in terms of what series you want to win as an Australian, it's always we beat England.
Okay.
Or we want to beat India. They're the two.
Yeah.
So for us,
it's coming, yeah.
So for us, they're both, because India's consistently one of the best teams all the time.
Yeah.
And England is right up there too. The history's so great. Even if they're not the best team, we have the history. But India's consistently one of the best teams. So there's two teams Australia want to beat. It's England and India. And I can promise you, if there's a team that England and India want to beat, it's always Australia. So that's where the rivalry stems from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Appreciate your time.
No worries. Thank you.